So I guess I'm really doing this. So this one time in high school, I was hanging out with my boyfriend at the time, and we were eating food or something. I don't remember what we were eating, but I do remember I spilled some on my shirt, and he pointed it out, and I was a little bit embarrassed, and I apologized, and he said, "No, no, no, that's okay. You're just messy. You're my messy girl." And I was like, "Yeah, I am the messy girl." And as you're about to find out, that applied to my whole life. Hello, and welcome to my first ever video. My name is Melanie. I turned 32 this week, and I am a mess. But what do I mean by that exactly? Well, let's backtrack just a little bit. When I was very young, I was considered a bright, gifted kid. I picked up new subjects really quickly and easily, did really well in school. My parents were also very active in community theater, and that was something I kind of latched onto as well. At first, it seemed like I was destined to do great things. And then after a few years of school, it became clear that I couldn't keep my desk or my room or my backpack neat and tidy in the least or organized. I couldn't stay on top of homework. And I was often getting in trouble for daydreaming or talking too much in class. By middle school, I wasn't working to my full potential. By high school, I completely despised school and was barely passing any of my classes. I was in advanced placement for both English and history, and even though I could ace the tests just by glancing at the material, I didn't turn in my homework and barely paid attention during class. Any work I did turn in, it was usually late. And yet, when I took the PSAT, I scored National Merit Commended status. I was only one of 3 in my high school. I was smart, but I wasn't applying myself. Maybe you already know where this is going, but bear with me. There's a lot more before we get there. So, I barely graduated high school. I hadn't applied to any colleges because I was so sick of school, and by that time I figured I was just one of those people that was not cut out for academia. Some people just don't go to college, and that's okay. But I also had no idea what I wanted to do. The only thing that I knew for sure was that I wanted to get married and have kids. My mother gave me an ultimatum. Either go to college and live at home for free, or get a job and start paying rent. And as much as I hated school, the idea of getting a job was worse. So at the last minute, in the summer after graduation, I applied to community college and miraculously got in. My vague plan was to major in theater, eventually get my bachelor's, and get certified to teach, because really the only thing I kind of knew that I could maybe do was teach theater. What followed was 7 years of dropping in and out of school, going to 3 different schools, 2 community colleges and a university, before I ended up back at community college again, entering the workforce in between, failing about at least 1 class per semester, and finally getting my associate's degree in general studies with a 2.6 GPA. Not good. During that time, I also met, dated, and married a guy. My dreams were not of professional or academic success, but of domestic bliss and starting a family. Meanwhile, I was determined to find some sort of stable income that didn't require an education, but would still let me play to my strengths. After all, I didn't have a piece of paper, but I was still smart and resourceful and had some skills. I worked in the office for a catering company for a few years. I worked at a daycare for about a year. I worked as a library aide and then a life skills aide at an elementary school for a few years. Finally, I got a pretty good job in customer service for an electric and gas co-op. There were a lot of people at that company that had worked there for years, decades even, and it seemed like I was possibly set. However, my husband and I were still struggling financially and emotionally, and the idea of starting a family seemed next to impossible. So I buried myself in community theater. It was the only place I'd ever felt like I knew what I was doing and was respected. Then, after 5 years of marriage, it was over. I had a complete mental breakdown, and shortly thereafter, I moved back in with my parents. Around that same time, I got a job as an administrative assistant and HR representative, meaning I was the entire HR department, at a small manufacturing company. It was better pay and it was way less demanding than customer service. So at first it seemed like a great transition, but then later I realized I hated it because it was really dull and the company culture was very conservative. A few months later was March of 2020, and as we all know, COVID became a thing and many lives changed. Mine certainly did, but the change was surprisingly positive. In lockdown, with no theater to fill my free time, I was able to slow down and think and reflect and learn. And boy, did I have some revelations. If you've been paying attention, by now you might be thinking, this woman has ADHD. And you'd be right. I'll go into detail about my entire diagnosis journey in a future video, but the short version is that by early 2021, I was pretty sure I had it, and earlier this year in 2022, I got my diagnosis. So, about 2.5 years ago, I was a heartbroken, mentally unstable shell of a person with undiagnosed and wildly unmanaged ADHD. I was, in short, a mess. And I always had been. But what I also learned in lockdown was that I was capable of so much more than I ever thought before. While ADHD had been the catalyst and a major contributor to the vast majority of problems in my life, I also realized that I had succumbed to a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. My earlier failures kind of snowballed into more failures because I thought that was just it, that all of this was so hard and so I'd never succeed. But once I realized that wasn't true, it was like this veil had been lifted and the whole world opened up to me. Today, I'm certainly not perfect and I'm still very much a mess. My bedroom, where I'm still living with my parents, is cluttered with piles of dirty clothes, random junk, and stacks upon stacks of paper. They're all out of frame. Cleaning this side of the room took all of yesterday. My car's floorboard is full of trash. The back seat is full of junk. I can't be bothered to do my hair and makeup every day or ever unless it's a special occasion or I'm on camera. I often curse like a sailor. I flat out refuse to exercise. It's progressively getting more embarrassing. I'm a heavy cigarette smoker. And yes, I know I should quit. Don't come for me. I struggle to shower regularly. And you can forget about me shaving my legs. I stay up too late most nights and run the risk of oversleeping for work. And there are items on my to-do list from months and even years ago that remain unchecked. But also, I managed to start and finish a novel-length fan fiction, which is huge for me because I've never finished a big personal project like that before. I managed to land what is nearly a dream job as a copywriter for a big casino. I managed to direct a large musical at my community theater, which I had never done anything quite on that scale before. And not only was it a smash hit, but also everyone who did it had a really good time. And at the ripe old age of 31, I managed to get my ass back in school to finish my undergrad in criminal justice, with the goal of making a 4.0 from here on out, because I want to go to law school after that. Having completed 1 out of the 4 semesters that I need to graduate, I can say with complete confidence that this is perfectly achievable. And that brings us to why I'm here. For years, I have consistently turned to YouTube not just for entertainment, but also for inspiration, motivation, and education. I realized that now I think I'm in a place where I can offer the same. At the very least, it'll be fun, I think, to document my academic, professional, and personal development. But also, if I can provide someone out there with the same kind of value I've received from watching YouTube videos over the years, that would be amazing. So, if you're interested in study with me's, study tips, vlogs, life tips, what it's like to be a full-time non-traditional student while also working full-time and part-time while all having ADHD, or if you just love my beautiful face, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and if you feel so inclined, leave a comment down below to let me know which of those things you are most interested in. Once you've done that, check out the description below for links to some of my favorite channels that have given me the same kind of content and have helped me find success in the mess. That's it for today, but I'll see you next time. Ciao for now.